Hello everyone. I'll say it once again just in case those of you have not been around on social media. Wishing you all a happy 2026. And I thought, well, it's snowing outside, and these are the pictures me and my husband took this morning. So this is what we've got in the garden this morning. Of course, why can't I flick through the photos? You can't make it up, can you? Normally I can flick through them. There you go. This is what we've woke up to this morning. This is my garden. So the perfect day to stay indoors and craft. Just a perfect day to do that. I had to show you them. Because it's just, I can't believe how much it snowed. So it's lovely to be indoors and it's lovely to have a little bit of creative time. So I'm going to start with my Pink Frog Super Smooth card, 4 inches by 6 inches. Can't live without this card. It's just brilliant. Now, I have free postage on my website until tomorrow evening at 11:30 with code FREEPOST. All one word, capitals, free post. If you put that at checkout and you spend £20 or over, you will get free postage. So I'm going to continue using my paints. I'm going to use... No, I don't want sapphire. What am I doing? Bear with me. I want... That's it. I wanted the darker one. I want marine, and I've got sand. Now you could use marine and sand or marine and aloe. I've got both those colours, sand and aloe. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but there you go. Let's grab a spare piece of card just so that we can make an extra background. So let's move that on one side for now. Now I've got the heating on, as if I wouldn't have when it's snowing. So the paint is going to dry a lot quicker. But I've got a nice big dollop on there. Whoops, she says, nearly foot dropping it. So I'm going to take the blue and look how much I spread that out onto my brayer. I don't just plonk it on there, I spread it out first. And then I'm going to come in, pick up. I'm probably going to pick up most of this actually, just so that it's nice and rich. And I like the fact that I don't cover all the white areas. I leave some of that space open. To be honest, there's no need to put that on the card. There's hardly any there, but I'll show you. Let's see how much there is, just out of interest. There you go. Look, there's none there. So nothing's come off because Tracy put the right amount of paint out and it's worked out quite nicely. But if you've got extra paint, make an extra background. I'm going to have to open my craft room door because actually when the heating's on and I'm so close to the radiator, I'm too warm. There we go. So we're just giving that a little bit of a clean. And as I always say, you know what I like with my non-stick craft sheet. I don't like it to work in a messy area. That's just me. Now what I'm going to do is, even though I brayed off and you could see there's nothing on there, I'm going to take a wipe and let's just see if there's anything to be removed. Can you see? So when I'm going to a light colour, I just want to make sure that that colour is removed. Have you noticed? Can you see how you've got the dark blue and then that pinky purple underneath? Don't they, those colours go lovely together? Don't they just? There we go. Let's just make that clean-ish. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take the ticket stencil. Now the die for this will probably be out around the end of January. It's finally done. So that'll be handy as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the ticket, and you can see which way is the right way up because you've got the stencil name on the top. But to be honest, it makes no difference at all. So let's grab some low tack tape. Now, when I've got a painted surface and I've not dried that, I just need to detack this a little bit because you don't want it to tear your paper. So let's just add a little bit of that low tack tape there, and you can see that I've detacked it because it's not sticky at all on the non-stick craft sheet. Because you just need to be careful with paints. You know, you use anything like washi tape and you've not dried the surface, it's going to tear your card. And there's nothing more frustrating. It's not the end of the world, but... So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some sand. Let's take the sand. And I'm just going to... Again, can you see how I brayer this out first before I actually do anything? Now hold your brayer a little bit limp. Don't sort of hold it too firm. Hold it limp and then just come over. Now, what I want you to do is just sort of be mindful that you're not... It doesn't matter about filling every space. Now, what you have to remember is you've got a ridge here because this is your stencil. The Mylar has got a slight thickness to it. So just remember that. But in this occasion, I want to take my time just to build up that sand layer. So let's take the sand layer. And I never go on there with a big lump of paint. I always spread that out. And what I want you to do is keep sort of brayering over so that you've got a little bit of white space. Now, what I want you to do is pick up a little bit of the paint on your finger. And it might not be wet enough, but if you've got a little bit of paint on there, just pick it up. There's not enough there, but if there is, you don't want to waste it. That's my point. So I'm going to take a little bit of paint now. What you're going to do is use your finger. Now, if you don't want to use your finger, use a sponge. Can you see how little paint I've got on there? So I'm using sort of very small amounts of paint. I would say I'm almost using the paint dry because I don't want thick clumps of paint. I want it to be I want it to be quite fine. So not big clumps of paint. I'm almost using it dry. So I'm hardly using any of the paint. Now what I want is the brayer again. So I want a little bit more sort of brightness in that centre area. So I'm picking up the paint again and I'm just going to merrily just take the paint and sort of go in different directions. So pick up the paint, and the idea is you're only going to hit certain areas. So brayer that out, and let's go up here, down here. It's quite random, in other words. You're not sort of, so it's a bit more arty-farty, if that makes sense. So let's just lift this up. Let's have a look. Now, sort of pull your low tack tape away from you. Now, don't worry that we've got little bits at the top. I want that because I'm going to add bits to the background anyway. So let's just move this somewhere. I've got that many pieces of low tack tape. It's just ridiculous. Look. So let's pick this up. Can you see? It's sort of, it's there, but it's not too over the top. Does that make sense? Makes perfect sense to me. So I'm going to see if there's paint on there, and I'm just going to do a wheelie. You're going to do a little wheelie, and I'm almost using dry paint. Now what you can do if you want a little bit more on the background, let's take a little bit more. Don't use big lumps of paint. Bray that out so it's almost dry, like dry brushing. You're dry brayering. Move your card around. So you're dry brayering now. Just to give a little bit more texture to that background. And it looks a little bit more arty. Just wonderful. So let's give this a clean. And you can see how dry my paint is because I need to give that a really good rub. Let's give the stencil a clean. Fantastic quality Mylar. And I know some of you like to clean your stencils, you know, so they're immaculately clean. These will come up after you paint, no problem at all. The only problem is when you do that, like I've just done, there's a suction and it doesn't, you can't pick it up easily. There we go. That's it. So you've now got this on there. Just lovely in its own right. And I like it patchy. That's the whole point. I like it like that. So then I'm going to take, I want sort of an elongated floral. So this seems perfect from TE32. Now I'm going to cut mine out. And I'm going to colour as well. So just fold that down. Don't stretch it off your acetate sheet. So then I'm going to take a piece of Super Smooth again. And then I'm going to use Sand Dune. I'm going to use Sand Dune Versafine Clair. And I can hardly see what I'm putting on there because obviously I've got that black ink that's on there, so I can't really see. So we're doing lots of tapping, and you can tell because you just lift your acrylic block and you get that little bit of sheen. So you can do your first generation. Now it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to colour with pencils. There's your first generation. And here is your second generation. You could, and if you don't believe me that you can't see, you can actually see that. And with the naked eye, you would be able to use that to colour if you wished. So I can use this to colour. Now I'm dropping everything on the floor. I'm going to give that a dry. Go. So let's give this a dry. Just because I've got that, I'm going to go in with I'm going to go in with Prisma pencils. So I want to make sure that that is dry. Right, okay. Now, if I coloured it in blue, I'd need to make sure it was straight over there so that it stood out. But I think I'm going to just, you remember the brayer? Inspiration is all around us. You know, it's got that sort of pinky purpley colour. I'm going to take that as inspiration, she says. Let's see if we can sort of find the colour we're after. So I'm thinking Process Red, although it looks like a pinky colour. Process Red, PC994. Then I'm going to, we need a bit of a darker shade, and I want it to be more sort of purpley. And maybe, what about that one as a mid colour? I will tell you the colours, but as per normal, I'm going to just give this one a little bit of a sharpen. Now just remember to move your sharpener rather than your pencil. There we go. That's it. So I'm using this as sort of a contrast. Now, if you're just trying to start to get back into your crafting because you're a bit of a low ebb after Christmas, because it can get like that sometimes in the new year, this is a lovely, simple project to do. It really is a lovely, simple project. And I also see that I would like a little bit more. So this is what happens when I look at my project. I would like a little bit more of the sand or the aloe, whichever one, because they both work beautifully. I'm just going to take a little bit more of that paint. There we go. And I'm just going to add a little bit. Now, you're probably asking, well, why didn't you add that little bit before, Tracy? And I'll tell you why. Because whilst I was deciding on my contrast colour to add with the floral, I wanted to make sure I was going to be happy. And I'm quite happy, so that's lovely. So let's bring in this little bit of contrast. So for my darkest colour, I've got Black Cherry, PC 1078. So cherry reminds you of, if you think of a cherry, it's that very deep on that pink sort of scale. I've then got Mulberry, again, sort of, you know, on that pinky scale-ish. And then you've got Processed Red, and you can see them there. So I've got the dark, the medium, and the light. Dark, medium, and light. So these are PC 1078, PC 995, and PC 994. Now you'll hear that I will repeat those through the stages of colouring. I repeat myself because me personally, when I'm watching somebody, I always forget what they've said 5 minutes before, especially if it's a number. So you will find that I will repeat that. Do you like how I didn't sharpen this one? But never mind. So we're going to go in with this dark colour, which is the Black Cherry 1078. And I'm just going to add a little bit of the Black Cherry. And what I try to do is I sort of get a feel for how my floral is going to look coloured. Now, I know most of you are far better than me. You have colour swatches. I don't tend to bother with a colour swatch. If I'm honest, I don't have the time to colour swatch everything, all the storage space. So I just go for it and just lose myself. But there you go. That's me all over. But at least you know that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm coming in with this dark colour, and I'm sort of doing a very twiddly circle just in the centre, very light. I'm then going to come in with Mulberry. Did I say that this was from TE32? Just in case I didn't, this was from TE32, this floral here, just in case I omitted that. I'm then going to come to the Mulberry. Just beautiful colours, but on that sort of pinky purpley sort of scale. I love my descriptions. Even I laugh at my own descriptions, but trust me, if it goes in my head, then it's fine. I have to do something simple that works for my brain. I'm not very good at reading instructions. I'm not very technical. So it has to be simple formats for me, for it to work. And it has to make sense for my little brain. So now I'm going to come in and just do these little twiddly little circles, little scribbly circles. That's all I'm doing, little scribbly circles, nothing more. Just lift that up for you, very patchy. And then I'm going to come to the Processed Red. So let's just add the Processed Red. So we'll just add that Processed Red. And I love a good floral to colour in. In fact, I'm obsessed by it. I do love a good floral to colour in. So again, we will come in with these little twiddly little circles, twiddly circles. Oh, I'm such a professional at drawing. Twiddly circles, that's what they're called. So then I'm going to come back to the black cherry, 1078. So let's just add a little bit of the black cherry. Just to our sort of foliage as well. I don't want it to be the greeny colour. So I'm going to come in with that black cherry again. And I'm going to come in with another layer. It's taken me many years of admiring all these beautiful colourists, admiring their work from afar and admiring their skill. And I've sat there for many years thinking, I just can't do it. I just cannot do it. I can't make it look the same. And then it was just one day practicing in some simple circles. So I'd sort of draw myself a simple circle and I kept experimenting. And you know, it took me ages to realise I was just pressing too hard. Now, I'm still not an artist, a botanical artist that colours in those beautiful professional ways. But what I do is I colour in a way that makes me happy. It makes me happy with the results, and that's for me what counts. I want the freedom of doing what I enjoy without the pressure of it has to be this way, it has to be this way, and if you don't do it this way, it isn't right. I don't want any of that pressure. For me, it's about creating. I want nice results, of course, but it's about using my products and enjoying the actual process. Now, we didn't put the little twiddly bits in this darker colour again, did we? So let's add the twiddly bits in that darker colour, but coming in a little bit stronger with that darker colour. So we then used the second colour, which was Mulberry, PC995. Let's come in with these as well. Just twiddly little circles. I'm then going to come in with the Process Red 994. And I'm going to go in, terrible English, going to go in to all the other colours. And I could not be without Sand Dune. It's a lovely base colour. Now, you'll often hear me talk about using white as a base because it gives vibrancy. This Sand Dune base just gives me that sort of dull base, and I can apply the rich layers on top. What I'm going to do then is I'm just going to take a little bit of white and just blend out a little bit of the end of the colour of that Process Red. Again, I'm not pressing on with that white. I'm just coming in just very lightly. Now I'm going to come in with the third layer of colour, again with the black cherry, and I'm going to sort of make a little bit of a dark area just so that it's a little bit darker. So again, I'm not pressing with, which is what I used to do, trust me. So I'm just coming in, I'm just going to make it a little bit darker just around the base there. I'm going to come in. So I'm just going to make it a little bit darker. Just at there, just at the very edge here, just make that a little bit darker. And it really does start to come to life before your eyes. And it's lovely. Whilst it's snowing outside, I'm enjoying that process of colouring. Especially when you know you're inside and you haven't got to rush out for any particular reason. There's nothing worse when it's cold outside. So let's come down again. And if you don't want to cut the foliage or squiggly little leaves out, don't cut them out. It's your artwork. And if you want to add it to your journal, that will work just as beautifully as well. I'm then going to come to my second colour, which is the mulberry. So we'll come to the mulberry. Just using that circular motion and just very gently coming in to the dark colour. So this second colour is coming into this dark colours here. So this, I'm blending in to this. So let's blend that into there. But again, I'm not pressing too much. I'm just layering that pigment layer by layer, just using a circular motion just to blend into that. So then with this colour, I'm blending into both of them. I sort of go into both of them a little bit. So I'm taking this and then I'll just take it right up into the other colours. So right up into those other colours. I mean, I've gone slightly over the line there. Oh, I'm not going to, there's no colouring police. We can just enjoy what we're doing. So that has gone into them. And then I'm going to go with the white and I'm just going into that processed red, that very last colour. And I'm just sort of blending that out. So it gives you a lighter shade of that colour dragged out into the very end. I'm just dragging that out into the very end. So can you see, you're now getting that beautiful, beautiful blend. I'm going to come in with a fourth layer. And I'm going to really sort of darken the edge just up here. And you can just, you see where the two petals meet? Make that a little bit darker. So where they get close, just, you see here, they get close. Make that a little bit darker there. For me, it just works. So then I'm going to come in with another layer and I can see that that's going down just beautifully, even with the fourth layer. I'm going to add just a few little darky twiddly bits. It's like I'm doing curly hair, really. It's the only way I can explain it. I'm just doing a little twiddly circle just so it adds some of that to there. Let's bring in a little bit more darkness to the and then I'm going to use the mulberry, and then with the mulberry I'm going to go in to that previous colour. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely colours. Just yummy. Now, if these aren't your colours, just change the colour palette. Follow the same technique and do colours that make you happy. A few of those twiddly little circles. Then we'll come in to the processed red. Now this is my final layer. There we go. Now don't come in and put your hand across this now, because the moisture in your hand will just drag that colour out. So don't do that. If you've got a little bit of bloom, either a very, very soft brush or just don't touch it. So then I'm going to come in with the white and I'm just going to drag out those darker, those pink, just so that it ends up a lighter shade at the bottom. And you've then not got a harsh edge. Oh, just delightful. Look at that. just delightful. Absolutely yummy. Right, anybody think I was talking about food, but there you go. So then I'm going to take my Posca pen, and then I can just come down and just add a little bit of white. Now, if it doesn't show up enough, I can easily come in with my bleed proof. So what I'm going to do now is, it's got that dark underlayers now of all the different sort of pinky purpley colours, and I'm adding the white on the top to give that a little bit more dimension. And I'm going to add sort of a touch, not sort of, I am adding a touch of the white just to my petals. There we go. It just lifts that a little bit. It's just wonderful. And you can even come in and just add a little bit more. And then we can take our Inktense pencil if we wish, and we can just add a little tiny touch of the dark Inktense pencil just around the base here. Where this circle is here, you can just add a little bit of the Inktense. And then you can just, oh, where's my brush? You can just touch that lightly with a little bit of water, just so that it's slightly darker. That is a tiny bit of water. Just touch it, because the Inktense pencil, I'll go onto any surface, and once it's dry, it's permanent. So you can just give that a little waft dry, and that's permanent. I'm now going to cut my floral out. And by now, those of you that follow me know that I don't like working with this big piece of card. So let's cut that in half, and then I can move that away. I'm then going to leave a white border for me, but it's very minimal. And I'm sorry, I know that, you know, a lot of people, if they don't like the white border, don't bother. That's absolutely fine. But again, I know some say, well, it has to be perfect. Well, no, nothing of mine is perfect. So I just embrace those imperfections. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm happy with that colouring. In fact, I'm very chuffed with that colouring. And for me, that's what counts. You know, if you can take something from your project that you're happy with, that's what matters. It really is, because that's how we perfect our skills, by making mistakes. If we didn't make mistakes, we'd never know how to correct these things. And trust me, there have been lots for me, absolutely lots. So I'm turning my card, doesn't matter, whichever works for you, whether you turn your scissors or turn your card, whatever is your process. And if it works, that's brilliant, it works. I'm using Pergamano scissors because for several decades they've worked for me. I like the fact that they're sharp right to the point. They're slightly curved, so it makes it easier for me. Again, it's just what you get used to, isn't it? And once you find something that you love, it's difficult to sort of move away from that. Can you see I'm sort of twiddling my card a little bit? It's so that I don't end up with a straight edge. I want it to be a little bit jaggedy because it's not perfectly round, and I don't want it to look like that. Get rid of that card. I always find it easier by not having too much card. Now I don't have to worry about any black ink, again, because I've used sand dune. There we go. Do you know what was weird about the snow? When the snow was falling last night, We were sitting in the conservatory because I'd lit the log burner. Oh, I'll tell you, look, I lit the log burner. Burn, 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 burn. I'm such a professional if it comes to lighting the log burner. I should really leave it to Ian because I am dangerous. I spend more of my time going, ow, ow, ouch. Honestly, you couldn't make it up. So, just leaving that little border again because it'll just pop against my background. And you can see I keep getting rid of any bulky bits of card because they just get in my way. Or it could be that I'm just strange. There we go. And as the flower curls, I just train it that it's going this way, and that's it. Now watch this contrast on this card. Oh, I just think that is gorgeous. I love that. Absolutely love it. I love the contrast. I love the length of the floral. I love the ticket. Just yum. Yum, yum, yum. Just wonderful. Right. So, what was I going to do? Let's grab... Oh, now I've got everything in the way. Let me just see. So now, let's bring in a little bit of this card. And let's try... Let me just check. Hawthorn Rose Versafine Clay. Oh, yes. Don't you just love it when products come together beautifully? So I'm then going to take the text from TE45. Yes, Tracy, take the text. There it is. So you can take the text from TE45 and I'm going to just add a little bit of stamping. I haven't even adhered this yet. So I'm going to add, yep, it just works straight away. So now I will adhere my floral. More of these glue are on the way. They should be here this week. I keep saying this about everything. Everything should be here this week. But a lot of companies didn't come back until today. So they've got a lot of catching up to do. Now you can see I'm not adhering them. Just so that those are loose and free. Like so. So let's just place this down. We don't want any adhesive showing. Now those are loose, can you see? So the stem I've adhered, but I haven't these, just the stem, just so that those are a bit loose and it gives it more life. Now let me just show you before I add more text how it coordinates beautifully. Wonderful, wonderful. So let's take that text again and let's ink that again with Hawthorn Rose. So now I can add a little bit more of the text and I can curl that stamp a little bit if I wish as well. Just adding little bits of text. Just looks wonderful, really wonderful. I absolutely love it. Now, do you remember a few videos ago? I'm going to have to remind you now, aren't I? Just to prove that I don't throw things away. Let me see if I can find the journal page. So do you remember this journal page? And then we created cards from it. We created... So we did this journal page and then we created these cards from the leftovers in my previous videos. And if you remember, we saved some of the our own washi that we created from masking tape or whatever you used. So to prove that I don't always bin everything, I still keep it. It is still here hanging from my tray. And you can see it's even curly, but it's still hanging from my tray. So I'm going to use some of this because I always said to you, you know, I do use my leftovers. Well, it's time for me to stop saying I'm using my leftovers and then not showing you that I use my leftovers. So we can use that bit there and we can curl that round like so. Curl that round. And I've now used some of my own masking tape that I created on a project ages ago. So just to show that I do use what I say I'm going to use. Now, what I'm going to do now, let me just, you have to bear with me because I do want a little bit of this stem from TE45. So let's bring this in, TE45. I want a little bit of this floral, but I only want a little bit of it. I'm going to use the reverse of this. We won't waste anything. It's fine. So we'll take the stamp. Let's put this floral back. Then I've got that acrylic block then. Again, roll that back. I love stamps. I just love them. I know we all like different things, but I just love stamps. For me, they're just brilliant. So I've not inked that whole thing. I've inked enough of my acrylic block, but I've not inked that whole thing. I just want a little bit of it. You watch, I won't have inked a little piece that I have. Didn't think I'd inked the whole thing, but I have. So which piece are you going to take, Tracy? I want a longish piece. So I'm just taking some of this foliage and I'm just going to add a little bit of that foliage. I do love how everything works together. And for me, I don't think you can beat stamps. I know lots of people love the card and everything, but I love creating everything from scratch. That's just me. It makes me so happy when I see that blank piece of card and it's all done with my fair hands. I feel quite chuffed with myself, even to this day, nearly 30 years later. You're never going to be able to take the craft out of Tracy. She just loves doing it. There we go. I was in York at the weekend. We went overnight. It was lovely. It was freezing cold, but there was a shop in there. Oh, what was it? Something Tiger. And it's that kind of shop where you don't really need anything. You go in there and you come out with handfuls, you know, like little containers, little notebooks. Oh, I was in my element. He goes, what are you looking at? Like notebooks with coloured edges. I think it's still in my bag. I still haven't unpacked. But it's like a notebook. It's black and it's got multicoloured edges to the pages. It's just a notebook, but it's got multicoloured edges. And I liked it. Dean goes, it's just got multicoloured edges. I'm like, I know, but it's nice, isn't it? He's going, what are you going to do with it? I said, oh, I'll write my actions in. He says, you've got about 75 notebooks, Tracy, for writing your actions in there. But there you go. I enjoyed myself. That's the main thing. But that is one of them shops that I just lose myself in, you know, sort of twiddly little things. So let's have that one as well. I just want it to go down to there. That's it. So I've now got a little bit, of the foliage as well. I do like this sort of my own washi tape. We created all ourselves from our stamps and everything. It's just lovely. So I'm going to be a little bit pernickety. I know what most of you are thinking. Let me just try and pierce this without piercing my fingers. There we go. I'm just piercing that because I don't want that lump of white card. I want to be able to see some of the colour in the background through that. And yes, I do make that much fuss. There we go. So I've cut that out just so then I can see sort of through that. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So then I'm going to take a little bit of adhesive, a little bit, that's a right big blob there. And I'm just going to add some of the adhesive. Now, not every one of those are going to be stuck down. I'm quite chuffed that I've saved that our own sort of made washi. We created ourselves from a little bit, or it could be masking tape, anything. You could even, because the paint goes quite matte, can you see it goes quite matte on the low tack tape? You could even use, you're going to think I'm mad, but watch. Watch this, it's not even going to be straight. Why don't I use a big pair of scissors and make it easier? So let's just cut that down. I'm not making it easy for myself because it's sticky, but silly little things like this. And I know most of you will think I'm absolutely stark raving mad. But even a little bit of that, just sort of added. I can put a bit of matte medium over that if I want to make sure it's permanent. But I can now take, this is just the low tack tape I'm using. Which one are you going to use? So I'm just using a little bit of the low tack tape. Wait, not what, trust me, it's not straight. That's not what it's about. It's about, it's a little bit more organic. It's more pleasing. There we go. But it's a little bit more arty. Now, all I have to do then is, where are you? Get a little bit of my Distress Collage medium. I bet there's still some in the lid. Take a little bit, look, it's hardly anything, and just add a little bit of matte medium just over. It's matte, so it's not going to give you any shine. So just add a little bit of matte medium over these, and then they're permanent. They won't move. There's always a way. So let's fasten that back up. Just love it. I've now got matte medium, paint and everything. So let's give that fingernail a little bit of a clean. But you can see how you can use little pieces in your artwork. So now let's grab our Tracy's massive Inktense pencil. And I'm just going to just add, you know, it's not perfect. And then I'm going to add a little bit. Little bit. So I'm just adding little bits of shading, and then she loses her paintbrush that she's plonked down any old place. Little bit of water. just a little bit of water just to give that a little bit of shading. Inktense are wonderful on acrylic paint. They really are wonderful on acrylic paint. You're just twiddling that a bit because you don't want it to be too much. You just want to just give a little bit of shading just to a couple of the areas. And I do want to add a little beard or something. Where are you? I think it's TE44. So I'm going to use TE44, and you can see in TE44 I've got a mask in there, but this is TE44. I'm going to use the little beards in there, or beard. My desk is a right mess, but what's new? Which one do you want? I want that little beard there. Just make sure I've got nothing on there. Let's grab a little acrylic block. What's this? Little bit of card. But we've made this all ourselves. Oh, it's so satisfying. So I'm going to take my Nocturne ink. So let's take that Nocturne ink. And I'm going to add my little beard here, just there. Oh, the sun's coming out as well. So I've got bright white snow and there's clear, crystal clear blue skies. So I'm just giving this a little bit of time just to absorb onto that surface. There we go, lovely. Let's place this back. And what I'm going to do is just put that stamp set back because I'll end up with that many stamp sets everywhere. We're going to give that a little bit of a dry because it's on that layer of acrylic paint. So you just need to give that a dry. Okay. And then I'm going to use my, oh, come on. I'm going to use my Gansai Tambi paints. These are on the way as well. Again, I've reordered these. In fact, I spent most of the evening last night reordering loads of things. So these will be back in stock. So I'm going to use blue gold. Just spritz a bit of water. And really, when you're doing your watercolours, you should really sort of spritz with water. Like I should have spritzed them with water before I started this project. That's what I'm trying to say. Because then you're getting that ready. But look at this. The richness of that. Look, it is just scrummy. So this is the blue gold. And the pigment in these is just wonderful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some touches of gold. So I'm going to add. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure that even the pieces I've just added, like this little bit of my own low-tack tape, I'm making sure they're all part of the project. Now it's not like I've got to make a perfect line. It's just adding a little bit of the gold, just because you've got gold on here as well. So it's just coordinating with a few touches of that gold. So I'm going to add a few touches of the gold just to the floral as well. Now I'm using a very fine paint brush. So I'm going to add a little bit. Now what you don't want to do is overpower everything with the gold. You just want to give that a touch. And you might not see this touch of gold in a photograph when you take it, but you know it's there. You know that you've made that effort and it's got that little bit of opulence to it. So I'm going to pick a little bit more up now, just so that I can maybe use my fan brush. So let's just move that out of the way. Let's pick up a little bit of this. Let's see if I can do it without adding, yes, without adding too much water, so that it's got that rich, absolutely perfect. It's got that rich gold on there. There we go, just wonderful. I do apologise for the tinkling. My husband's decided that he wants to do the car. And of course, he's got to do the car this minute when I'm recording. But can you see? You've got that lovely touch of gold. And every part has been considered. So it looks like it makes sense. Just wonderful. Now, I'm just going to give that a little dry, just so that we don't get in too much of a mess. And then I'm going to add some white Posca. Excuse me. So let's add some of that white Posca. And if we add that white Posca now, we then won't add it on our wording, will we? Which is a first. I normally do the wording and then realise that. Right, so now what word are you going to use? There we go. We'll use TE45 and we'll use the word garden. So we'll take the garden word. Excuse me, sort of clearing my throat. I think it's when you've got the heating on, it's quite dry, isn't it? So let's take that garden text and then just stamp that onto the white card. Cut that out with the scissors, my big scissors. Ooh. That's it. And if I leave that white, it'll coordinate with the white in the background that I've left in the background, and also with the white card blank, and it'll just pop against that background. So I'm going to add the word garden just here. So let's add that. There we go. Now, if you don't want to sort of put your fingers on there, just use a piece of card just to press that down. Then you're not going to smudge any ink, just while you hold that down. Do you know, I absolutely love this little bit of low tack tape that I've added. I just love that. Isn't it funny, the things that you take from a project? So I'm going to just add a little bit of shading just down here, just so that that's finished off. Now I've got a lot of gold on this brush. So let's just clean that up a little bit. And then we'll just blend that out. Still got a little bit of gold in, but that's absolutely fine. I've just added a little bit to the base of the flower. Then I'm going to add this to a black mat. And I will be doing another card with marine and sand because I'm rather smitten with that. So let's take our adhesive. Make sure that the adhesive is touching this as well, just so that that gets stuck down and you don't have any lumps and bumps in your card. Let me just pick that up. Now, because I've dried everything, which makes a change, I just think that is lovely, lovely, lovely. Make sure that you do sort of rub the back just so that that is stuck down. I'm then going to add this to a 5x7 card blank. There we go, lift that up. Add that to our card blank. And I just love the colours on that. I just think those are lovely. And I was inspired by my brayer. So inspiration is all around us. So I hope you enjoy that as much as I've enjoyed creating that. And I hope it brings you a bit of pleasure in your creative time. So lots of love, everyone, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.